How about now? Again with the static noise? Are you serious? How, guy? Works fine now? Everyone can hear me? We're good, we're good? Alright, thank you. About to say, what's going on here? There's no way. I did the same exact thing as I did yesterday. Alright, welcome in everyone. I was pretty much just watching Sun W. Someone did drop the ticker as it's probably. Oh, it was Divi that actually dropped the ticker. So I was just taking a look at it. I wasn't too familiar with the ticker. So it actually does look pretty nice here. So I was actually looking at the resistance level that I wanted to see a break. Nice little rounding bottom formation here that we have. And so if I'm looking for the next level of resistance that I particularly want to see a break over, it's looking right around this level as well as we just wicked off of it and then pulled back. So you do want to see this break over this level on Sun W, right over that 725 mark. That would be a beautiful level to see a nice continuation on this one. But that is definitely a nice little rounding bottom. If I was actually looking at a target level, and let me actually get out to the daily here, probably give me a better visual of this. So this would be definitely that level, that 725 right here. And next level is breaking out of this consolidation that you had, and also that prior resistance. So as you see, you had that chop as it rested on support. We broke down, and then that acted as a resistance level. So you're looking right around that $8 mark is which you want to see this break out of as a primary target, and then you'll see a further continuation out of that. But $8 is that near-term target where you want to see a break out of once you do cross over this continuation level of 725 or where we wicked off. So that was just a quick one. I do like that chart though. That's a really cheap one. That sounds like a Tamakaze type chart. Definitely one of his type of plays. But I'll keep it on my radar here. But let's get started then. I do have only a few names, and why did I get a few names just taken off of here? All right, we'll start off with Nasdaq real quick. So I do have my levels outlined for Nasdaq. We had a pretty nice day overall. We saw a nice little move out of Apple today. We saw pretty much a nice move out of Facebook as well. That was a good sign of relief after what Facebook has been through these past few days, I want to say, into last week. Facebook did give a nice little run here today. And then pretty much the two giants were pretty much lagging for that matter. It was time for them to take a breather. We saw Tesla stagnant. We saw Amazon stagnant. Also Google for that matter. The one that did catch a little bit of steam was Shop. You probably heard him on live pretty much scalping Shop pretty much for most of the day. And that was a beautiful move out of Shop. If I just bring up the chart there, that was just a beautiful one. And if you actually caught it on my Twitter, I actually posted that we're looking a little bit like a head and shoulder formation. So just throw that one out there. But this was a beautiful move that you got right up on that gap up and right up to that 1500 mark, which was pretty much my target that I was mentioning. And I'm pretty sure I actually posted this before on my Twitter with that target level of 1500. But beautiful move. As you see that head and shoulders, it's likely looking like this is going to be the pullback for tomorrow, as we saw pretty much Amazon and Tesla be the pullback for today. So that'll be one that I'll be watching. It could present a possible short here, and we'll see exactly where we end up catching support. If I'm looking at support in reality right now, it's right around once we break that 1481 level, then we're likely going right down to this gap level, which will be a retrace of what we just practically made, that move we made today. So that's a little bit of a steep pullback, but we'll see what price action we get tomorrow, how red we are if that be the case. But just want to throw that one out. Other than that, Microsoft got a little bit of a move off. And then Netflix, we saw what it did. It pretty much wet the bed after hours. We literally saw it wick up, I think almost $20 up, and then $20 down, just to close down, I think about $8 after hours. So we'll see what impact that has tomorrow on the markets. That's another deciding factor. It could weigh on tech. That was a tongue twister. But that could also weigh on all those big names. So we'll probably see Netflix lag, and that'll open up an opportunity for another big name tech stock to actually run. And likely we'll see Tesla probably top off tomorrow. It is more than likely, in my estimation, that we'll see that 900 mark hit before earnings. And then earnings will literally decide whether we pumped all new time highs or if we end up pretty much just dumping like we see similar with Netflix, but it could be a little bit worse. All right. But as we see right now, futures are pulling back just a little bit. So pulling out my NASDAQ chart so we get the levels in and then we can move on to some other tickers. And I think it looks a little bit better on the daily here. There we go. Does look better. As we saw, we pretty much wicked right up to this level on NASDAQ, 15,428 on NASDAQ. We could end up seeing a little bit of a pullback. My first level support will be 15,338. If we end up retracing further than that, then 15,192 will be that level. Now, ultimately, I do want to see us get one more leg up, in which that will be 15,524 before we get a consolidation, hopefully. I'm hoping this is just a breather candle here today because we see this looks like a little bit like an exhaustion. And then we just get that last leg up in which we just push right out the gate. And we kind of finish these last legs that we are on for tech, right? Before we ultimately get some kind of retracement or a longer consolidation going sideways. So that's ultimately what I'm expecting. Either that we get that gigantic push right into this level 15,524. That would likely push SPY right into what, say about 452, 453. Yeah, I wouldn't even rule out 454, but that would give us a nice push. Otherwise, we get these retracement levels of 15,338 or even lower 15,192 on NASDAQ. So that's what I'll be watching for NASDAQ. As far as S&P futures, we saw that we actually are retesting. We're sitting right around this level of 45.10 that I'm watching here right now. We actually saw we were pumping a little bit after hours when we closed, and I think that was in hype of Netflix. And then we just kind of pulled back just a little bit to rest right where we closed out. So we'll see what this actually does here. It could be possible that we end up retracing along with Nasdaq, and we get this nice little pullback to 44.92, which that would be a healthy pullback in my estimation, about a 2 point drop. And so otherwise, if Nasdaq pushes like I mentioned, then I'm looking at 45.25 or I'm looking at 45.38. Those are the two levels I'm looking at going up. So those are the levels I'm looking at as far as S&P, as far as Nasdaq. I guess I mean tomorrow, if you want to say we are estimated to have some type of retracement, a nice little pullback. Granted, what we starting to close here, that could continue, and then after tomorrow, then we get that continuation. That's what I'm expecting. But again, it could go either way. We could get that last leg up, but that will be the scenarios that I'm looking at. Now, jumping into the tickers that I actually had outlined, it wasn't as many as I had yesterday, and not as much as far as tech. I already went through shop with you guys. Another one that I was looking at, and I actually posted this one on my Twitter, was Adobe. This one actually stood out to me pretty much because if you guys actually know exactly how I am very pattern based. So you do see this has a nice little broadening formation here on Adobe. And so I'll be watching this one. If you see that do have a left shoulder, we had the head and a possible right shoulder. We did close out and pretty much in after hours we're right around. We peaked out at 636.90 and that could be forming the right shoulder here. And so I'll be watching this one to see if we get a breakdown. And as you see the pattern pretty much play out here, if I expand it, you see it pretty much goes side by side here. You have that flat bottom support, you have that ascending resistance level, and you form that right shoulder to break down. So that's definitely one that looks pretty much textbook, and that's why it's really on my watch list for tomorrow. So I wanted to point that one out to all of you. So we'll see, of course, if we get that pullback that escalates to the downside, this will definitely play in that favor. So that's one. Another one is coin. We saw what coin did. It just pretty much ripped off. And we had an amazing run out of coin today. The amazing thing was that I actually saw flow coming in and I was pretty much jaw dropped when I saw that flow come in. There was 350 calls that came in for next month on coin. When I saw that, I was like, there's no way. Because if that's the case, then Bitcoin has to continue running, in essence, for coin to rip all the way up to 450. So that would be insanely crazy if that ended up happening. But my ultimate target was right around 313.50 here, and so that would be a nice little push here if we do see Bitcoin continue to run overnight here. And that 313.50 could easily touch tomorrow. So that's the level that I'm watching for tomorrow. If we end up getting a pullback, then we're looking close enough to 289, in which that'll be, it's not a significant pullback, granted the move that we've already had. That's just pretty much, I would say, a nice little retracement that would get out of coin if Bitcoin does not get the rally that I'm expecting overnight. Okay, so that's just that I'm pointing out, and then of course the flow, like I said, it was 350 calls for next month, and so you have about pretty much over a $30 move right there for between this month finishing it out and next month. That's an insane type move. But for coin, granted that we literally ripped off from what 250 all the way up to about 3010 or 308 here. That's already been an insane move. So that's a little bit more what's drastic about that call that I saw today. But we'll keep it on watch tomorrow. We'll see what Bitcoin does overnight. Another one I'm watching is DocU. DocU actually has a nice little inverted head and shoulders. If I expand it here, I think this one looks a little better on the 4 hour here. Yeah, definitely looks a little better. You have that left shoulder, you have a head, you have the right shoulder. You could get the retracement tomorrow, in which you feel this little gap that you have right below 270.36. And so I'll keep an eye if it fills the gap. Ideally, I would like for it to fill the gap, come down to the support level here, and that will be my buy entry. So I'll be watching for that one. That'll be a beautiful one to go off of, and I will definitely be able to get a continuation on that one. Overall target that I'm watching on this one would be 278.67. If you want to call it ballpark, 278.70 will be that level that I will be taking my profits. And so that'll be a beautiful move. If you get the retracement down to 267 and up to 278, you're talking about a double digit move potentially for that ultimate target. So again, that's one on the radar. One, this is actually a Tamakaze type play, and he actually did play this one, and this was Spotify. So I'll be looking to see a continuation out of this one. If you heard him, he pretty much talked about it for most of the day. He got in pretty early, I think right before this gap up. If I'm not mistaken, he got in right around 236 or so, if I'm not mistaken. But that was a beautiful move that he got into. Perfectly broke out right over that resistance level. And my ultimate target level is right around 261.44, in which I expect us to get to that 261.44 before the retracement ends up happening. So that's what I'm looking at. We could get another about a $5 to $6 move out of this one tomorrow, granted that, and then we get that pullback to retest support. So that's why I do have this one on the watch list tonight, because you could see further continuation on this one. Another $5 to $6 move pretty much easily on this one, and then we get the retrace to support. So this will be one that we probably talk about again tomorrow. I don't know if Tom is actually holding overnight again, or if he actually took all of his profits. He probably took some and is holding some runners, but we'll keep an eye on that one. Baba, what a massive winner. I mean, Avery pretty much killed this play. He called it out quite a few days ago. I actually reiterated on Twitter last night when I posted it, and I actually had a 178 target, about a few cents shy. It topped out at 177.44. But I did mention this was a beautiful ascending triangle. You wanted to see a breakover. It actually gapped right over that triangle, the resistance, and it literally was just a few cents away from my target of 178. But beautiful move, double digit move today. That literally ascended pretty much the entire day. I think you could have got in literally at any point in the day and you would have been in profits. So this was a beautiful one. We'll see what it does. I expect it to reject right around that 178 level. Again, over the 178 is where you're actually going to actually enter the gap. So that's why I don't expect to enter the gap just yet. I'm looking for some type of consolidation, some type of maybe a retracement, and then we end up making that push right back to test the gap fill once more. So, but I'll keep an eye again. Again, 178 to me is that key level, because over that wick, over 177.89 exactly, that's when you're going to enter the gap fill. So that's the key level that you're right next to, and that's why we're gonna pay attention to it tomorrow. See how it reacts to that level. Maybe we actually do break into that gap fill, and we'll see this run even further. So that'll keep on the back burner. We'll see what it does by pre-market, and we'll know how to react to it. I posted also T-Doc on my Twitter. This was just a beautiful one. You see a descending channel. You see a beautiful retest here. And so I do want to see this break over. I'm looking for a break over 140.79. And this will be a beautiful continuation over on T-Doc. My ultimate target here, which I didn't outline, is right around the 147 level. Low 147 will be my target, my profit taking area. And that'll be a beautiful move that we'll see once we break over. So I will be watching this one. I'm strongly going to be entering this one if we do get that break. And this will be a beautiful move here that I'll be taking in. Another one I posted was Starbucks. This is a beautiful little falling wedge. As you see, I am trying to avoid tech a little bit here, as you see the names that I'm going through, because like I said, I am expecting a little bit of a pullback tomorrow on tech. So I am looking otherwise to other names outside of tech, right? But this one does have a nice little falling wedge. We'll test resistance here on Starbucks. You'll likely get a clean little break over 116 here soon within the coming days. And then that gap fill comes into play. So that's what's important about Starbucks here. This is a very smooth runner here. I know that Sig is actually fond of Starbucks as well. I don't know if he got into it just yet or not, but he did talk about it possibly yesterday, if not on Friday. He was like in the price action. This is just a beautiful one out of this falling wedge. And so we'll keep this one on watch. And then finally was the newsletter play that I would just want to highlight. And so this one was a triple bottom formation. We broke out that neckline beautifully. And so that was just a massive candle today, over about a $5 move almost today. And so my ultimate target was right around the level of 82.30. And so we'll see if we get a nice little continuation out of this one. Probably a little bit of a small candle here to close out to that resistance that I have on my final price target. And then we'll likely get some kind of consolidation before we end up trying to break to this high, this recent high over 86.29. But definitely still on watch. I do expect this one to get a nice continuation in the coming days here as well. So just wanted to highlight that one. But I don't think it's also too late to get into this one. I do expect further upside on Pan. There was call flow going out to 90 strike. So definitely one that I do see continuation even further beyond what the newsletter play was. All right. Other than that, I think that pretty much wraps up the plays that I really wanted to look at tonight. Um, we'll see what tech really does. Amazon, I expect pretty much choppy movement if the market's really red. I know that they're actually pushing 3,500 calls on Amazon, so I don't expect it to really tank. We saw it actually pull back about close enough to what $20 today on Amazon, but that was a nice move that it had, recovering pretty much that from that $20 drop. So I don't expect it to get any kind of drastic drop for those of you that are really worried about Amazon. And $3,500 calls, I think there's a lot of buyers sitting out of the money. If they didn't sell yesterday, they likely sold for probably a loss today, or they're still bag holding. All right, but Amazon looks nice. We'll see Tesla. I am projecting Tesla to likely hit 900 tomorrow before earnings, and then either earnings is gonna determine whether we get to an all-time high or if we end up tanking. And if Tesla does tank, also keep in mind, watch for the other names in the EV sector, like GM, like NEO. Keep those names on watch because you'll likely see some type of sympathy out of that tomorrow. So I give you that news pretty much ahead of time, so you keep an eye on how those stocks react after hours once Tesla does report as well. So that's a little bit of insight on that. The one name that I do think could see continuation tomorrow is Facebook. I think that's probably one of the strongest ones after it's been beat up for so much. 345 calls were really heavy on flow, and that would actually get us right up to this resistance of this candle right around here. Let me see, 345. No, it's not necessarily resistance, but that was the target here, around 345. If I'm looking at a resistance, it's right around this level. Yeah, it is 345. I apologize. So that wick is right around 345 in this wick, and it's right around 345 and change. So that would be that resistance, and then the next resistance would be testing the gap fill, in which that's 349.60. So that's the one name I think actually has a lot of strength out of tech. So we'll see this one likely get a continuation if tech doesn't necessarily bleed out completely. I do think that this one can stay alive. BA, I don't really want to talk about BA. I think everyone got their feelings hurt by BA, but I'm gonna look over those four tickers that you guys just mentioned, and then I think we'll call it a night here real quick. AFRM, I actually covered this one last night if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I did. This one actually has a nice little channel that I was looking at. It's not a normal channel, but the reason why I say it's an ascending channel is because for the most part, other than two occasions, it's actually respected the resistance level and the support level. And so right now, I was expecting this nice little push right up to that 170 area to test the resistance. That didn't end up happening today. So it is likely that we're going to end up touching support tomorrow. I'm expecting to test 150 tomorrow. If tech does get murdered tomorrow, then it is likely that we end up breaking the support. So do keep that in mind. I did hear Avery on live today actually mention that this is actually a name that he's looking to short once the market starts to roll over. So if he's definitely shorting this one, I'm sure you're gonna hear it on live tomorrow. I mean, I won't short this name until it breaks that support level. If it doesn't break that support level, I'm not shorting AFRM. That's just not gonna happen. This name actually just kind of reminds me of UPST. It's just not a name that you pretty much bet against. As you saw, UPST it dropped like $30, and it came right back up. So when you see strength like this, it's hard to really short names like this because once they there's so many buyers in there that even on any weakness they buy it right back up. But again, I do expect this one to test 150. If market weakness does escalate, then I'm likely expecting it to break that support of 150, and then we can see this get a nice little breakdown. If I do see this end up breaking down, then I'm looking for a support level right around 140, 143, 144 would be that nice little support level that I'm looking at, in which that'll be about close enough to about a $5-6 drop that we're looking at. So that would be a beautiful one to short if market does show weakness. Let me see what other name you had real quick. Someone mentioned Fastly. I know that Fastly just went up all day today. That was just a crazy move. But that was a beautiful one, I gotta admit. It's just that it took off too quickly. And so I already had my target actually set. I expect this one to go to 51 here. That'll be about another close to a $2 move here that we're looking at before we hit some resistance. Probably get a little bit of consolidation or retracement. Now, if I'm looking for a support level, let's see where our support levels are looking like. See what we're finding support. Yeah, I think we find support right around this level. I wasn't expecting that to be orange, but it's fine. So support will be right around 48.22. So about $1 shy from where we are right now at current levels. But 51.05 is that target level that I'm looking at. So that gives you about $1 and change move to the upside before we get some type of retracement consolidation for the next leg higher. So that will be what I'm expecting here. We're not going to go pretty much straight up. I don't expect us to. So I'll expect us to hit that 51 and change here. We get a little bit of sideways action, a little bit of retracement there. We hold these pretty much within a $2 to $3 range here before we see the next leg higher. But the buying was insanely crazy today. I saw them buying calls out to like 60 strike. So I do expect further continuation. So if you're going out further outdated expiration, you're fine. If you're trying to do weeklies, I would caution that. Let me see the last two tickers that you guys mentioned that someone did mention up there. Oh, you did mention BA. This is not a stock that I really want to look at, to be honest with you, but I'm gonna just look at it. I'm actually still holding this in the small account. I think I pretty much got Dougie bags right now. He pretty much gave me some bags on this one. Although he did roll his out to, I believe next week he mentioned. So here's what's the deal. We had a nice little support level here. As you see the wicks pretty much lining up right to the left of my cursor there, to the left of my cursor here, here, here. And then we pretty much just got flat sideways action. Now what you would pretty much say this is consolidation. So what this pretty much tells me is that we're building a base. That's basically what that consolidation is, in which we are going to end up curling up. Now, how strong it is, that's really what the concern is. That's really what my concern is as far as how far is this actually going to get a move upward, or is it just going to be a dead cat bounce? That's really what bothers me about this. And so I do want to see this get over this current level right here. If we are able to break over 218.81, then I see 220. And that I don't expect to see more than 220 this week. That's just I mean there's nothing that's really going to propel it to go that high. I think that tech stocks would really have to weaken, and then stocks like Boeing, like McDonald's, all those other names out of the S&P would really have to rally. But I don't expect this. I don't really see any type of momentum here. That's the biggest factor. There's no momentum in BA right now that's going to propel us farther than 220. So just keep that in mind. But I do want to see a break over this level here. We get over 218.81, then 220 is my mental target here. And I'll likely exit my small position that I have on the small account, and that'll be it. But that's pretty much my scenario right there. I really don't want to even think about Boeing right now because this is literally exactly what you said, PW. It's on the no trade list. Hopefully, Fortuna comes through. We do see some type of play on this. Uh, what I do like is that it is building a base. That's what I will say. This is a consolidation, building a base. We get some type of movement going up, and it's just not a dead cat bounce, is what I'm hoping. But I do think it's going to be a little too late here once we do get this bounce, and it's not going to be able to hold up. That's what I do fear. So I will mention that, and that'll be all I mention for Boeing. We'll see what it does tomorrow. But those Dougie bags, they're hurting in the small account. I will say that. Let me see. I'm gonna do one more ticker. Someone mentioned Moderna. I'll do Moderna. So I'll take a look at Moderna. Moderna actually, I didn't even realize I charted this one, but this one actually has a nice little ascending channel. So we're on the 1 hour right now. It's not a very large time frame, but this actually dates back from October 7th. So we're looking about a little bit over a week here. But that was a nice little move that we got out of here. A nice bounce. I did not expect this bounce to still be in play. I was actually expecting the stock to be below 300 already. But this is a nice little bounce. So the good thing that we identified is that we have identified our resistance levels. We had the resistance here at 317.35. Another resistance level here at 341.55. And so we do have the support levels identified. That was at 298.10. And then if I want to say which one I really touched there, I would say this one is 318.50. So as you see, it's pretty much doing a little bit of a falling wedge action. If I zoom in here, you have a little bit of a falling wedge action. It's likely that this may stretch out toward the support level. And I think it's a little bit around here. There we go. That probably looks a little bit more ideal. Yeah, so that's our support level right there. And then we do have the resistance in which that pretty much solidifies our little falling wedge here. Actually, a little bit of a channel, actually. It looks better as a channel. But we could continue to chop sideways here into the tomorrow. And then hopefully we end up holding support on Moderna here. So this support will be pretty key right around this 331 level. That will be your key support level. And I would say even as far as 330 because we could end up dropping down just a bit. So 330, 331 needs to hold. That's what I will say. And if we end up holding 330, 331, then we'll get a nice continuation here. And we could end up filling up this wick that hits as high as 347.87. So keep in mind 330, 331 needs to hold in order for the channel to stay in place. And that's the biggest picture that I'll pretty much get across to you guys. Alright? Other than that, I will do that last ticker real quick. BYND, I think I already had this one charted, that's why. It's just a falling wedge action. It pretty much is a long falling wedge dating back to all the way to August. But we're getting a little bit of chop here, which I would say this is also consolidation. So we do need to get over this level right here and hold over that 108 level. Then we could see a continuation, but it needs to break over 108 and hold that level. And then we'll see a nice little rounding bottom continue, in which ultimately my profit taking area I ideally will be 113. So that would be a nice move if we do end up breaking over 108 and getting a continuation over this wick. Over that 109.95, then yeah, then we get to that 113 level. Alright, so that's my scenario with BYND. But other than that, that kind of wraps up tonight's session, guys. Again, I do caution tomorrow. I do think it's going to be a little bit choppy to red tomorrow. That's what my expectation is. Let me just take a quick last look at futures here. Futures are fine. Nasdaq's pretty much near flat. S&P futures are slightly green here to flat. But we'll see what happens by tomorrow morning. I just caution, don't try to force a situation early in the market. I would wait probably about a good five, ideally up to 15 minutes tomorrow. See what the price action gives you before you just jump into a trade, because we could go either way tomorrow. Either we finish one last leg up to highs, or we end up getting a nice little pullback for tech, and that'll pretty much drag the market to an extent. All right. But other than that, that wraps up our session tonight, guys. I'll see you guys on live tomorrow, and then we'll be back here tomorrow to see what's the price action tomorrow. All right. You guys have a good night, and I'll see you guys